All right. Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you guys are. Certainly, if you're here in Australia or Asia or Indonesia, then certainly it's a good night for you. Hope you had a good day. If you're in Europe, it's good afternoon to you. Good luck for the rest of your day, and especially for the guys in the states, is early in the morning. So how are you this morning, Brett?
I'm doing pretty well. Got my little morning stuff done. I think we're a couple minutes late from what we wanted to do, so sorry for everybody who was waiting for about
It's
5 or 10 minutes,
only a
roughly.
casual
So,
8 minutes late, so all good.
yep. But it's going pretty well. It's a little bit cold here. I don't know how it is for you guys, but when I came outside this morning, there was actually ice on my car, so that's always fun.
When there's ice down here in Indonesia, then the world is ending. No, there are no ice here, so I can't really I can't relate to you. All right, so everybody can hear me okay in chat here. We got Lord Commander Bob in chat. Can you hear me right? All right. So I guess let's get to it. So we got 43 players. It seems that there will be one player who's going to go on bye. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to draw the rounds first, or do you want to like go through the list first, or how should we do this?
Let's start with a basic count of like how many factions we have. I think stats probably breaks down who's the popular commander choices and things of that nature. So we can start with some of that basic
All
stuff.
right.
And and then if you want at the end of it, we can you can pull some like a couple of really unique lists, something that's just really different because that's the whole spirit of this event is to see some really interesting stuff that you wouldn't normally see. So I think maybe highlight your favorite lists that are just way out there.
All right. So let's start with some faction count. So Lannister. Oh crap! I just remembered that Lannister is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Lannister players. So that's about 20%, 25% is Lannister. So there's that.
Yeah, that's not a huge surprise. You've got Tywin and Gregor are rounding out kind of the bottom of the commander elos. They're
Gregor,
down there
Gregor.
pretty far, so
Yep.
definitely not a big surprise. Lannisters are popular anyway, so I'm guessing that there are quite a lot of Gregor and Tywin pairings.
Yep. We got for Stark. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Stark players. With the combination of Eddard Roderick, Rob Howland, Eddard Greatjohn. Greatjohn's really fun. I really like Greatjohn. Rob Roderick, Rob Howland, and yeah. So Rob is Rob really not doing so well in like the ELO?
No, when I had looked, I initially had thought about doing a pairing of Great John Umber and Rob because they're both down there pretty low. Um, Rob is an interesting one. I think he's okay. Um, but I think as far as getting the most synergy out of him, you're a little bit limited to dervishes and Kranigmen if you have the raw nerve to run Kranigmen with your commander. They can work with their swift retreat and with his regroup order. So
Yep.
I think overall Starks just aren't super, super strong right now because it's pretty difficult to push them to 8 activations. I think you've basically got to run 2 wolves or else you don't really have much of a heavy hitter. So I think that's an odd spot for Starks to be in right now because I think they really struggle to hit 8,
I
kind of along the lines of non Stannis Baratheons and neutrals. They're kind of in the same boat. It can be pretty difficult to get to that magical 8 activations. So
I think I might found my favorite list. It's almost a full calf. We got Flayed Man, Brendan Tully, Hedge Knight, Stark Outriders, and Crown of Truckers. This is almost a full calf list. This is a list run by Jay Bohr. I think this is an interesting one. But anyway, I'm getting distracted, so let's go to the faction count. Free folk, we got 5 players playing free folk. Harma Torment, good choice. And then we got Rattleshirt and Torment. Oh, Board is playing Rattleshirt. Oh, this is fun. You got
Nice.
Rattleshirt. You got Steer and Torment, and oh, Bob. Bob is playing Mag. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this one. Oh, Mag. Oh, this is gonna be a fun list to fight. And we got Dark Angel playing Rattleshirt and Mans. Wow, we got a bunch of Rattleshirt. Free Folk. Free Folk is also interesting. I just for if I'm not mistaken, the only downside of Free Folk is that I think their two lowest rated commander is only like minus like on the tens, so they're not like extremely bad, but I think Mag is just really fun as a commander, and I think Rattleshirt, unfortunately, because it's we don't have Bear Riders yet, so they don't get the full like sort of synergy with the cards. But I think it looks pretty okay. I can't wait to see
Yeah,
how the Mac performs though. That'll be interesting. All right,
yeah,
move.
it should be interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep, it's okay. Targ, we got still 4 players playing Targaryen. We got Grey Worm Jorah, Grey Worm Dany, Queen of Marine. Um, oh, sorry, only 3 players playing Targ. So we got Jorah Dario. Okay, this is interesting. Hashtag free Drogo. I'm sorry, but no. This is NSB playing. He's been campaigning to hashtag free Drogo, and I'm like, nah, no thanks. Um,
Yeah, I stand by the decision.
Aha, Steven Stovetop is playing Grey Worm and Danny Queen of Marine. Now this should be fairly interesting. And we got I think this is a Polish player, Gaurel playing Grey Worm and Jorah Mormon. All right, cool. And then I think
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
interesting because Grey Worm is one of their better commanders. I think when I looked, he was actually rated higher than Drogo, which again, emphasizing is one of the reasons we just went ahead and said no Drogo because his rating has kind of sunk far enough that he was a bit of an attractive choice. But Grey Worm, he's kind of up there, so that's it's a little bit interesting. I think the Targaryen players choosing Grey Worm, they're going to have to play their hearts out to make the top 5, top 10. Because I don't think they're going to be getting a lot of multipliers running Grey Worm.
Yep. And the list is scary. I just take a look at list. It's got Unsullied Packman, Grey Worm, Screamers, Outriders, and Drogon. The fairly standard sort of like cavalry with the Drogon support. I think yeah, this
Yep.
list can do
Yep.
damage. All
Yep.
right. Greyjoy, I would reckon, is the next sort of popular faction. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, only 7 Greyjoys. That's interesting. I would have expected a bit more.
Yeah, I think I was expecting to see a lot of Greyjoy and a lot of Baratheon, honestly. Not overly surprised that Lannister is popular. They've kind of been a popular choice since we saw this update because they're they're pretty flexible, I think. They've got some pieces that feel auto include, but there's definitely some stuff you can do with Lannisters and get to that magical 8 activations pretty easily with any commander. I think Lannister can do okay with a 4/3. That's kind of their comfort zone from 1.6, but I think a lot of that hinges on Tyrion and Roose, so it'll be interesting to see how the Lannisters translate. But as far as Greyjoys, I would have expected to see 10 or so because from what I hear tell, Greyjoys are a lot of fun. I know Chris Tran is making a lot of noise with Greyjoys. He's pulled
Ooh.
himself up to
Hey, Chris.
over 1900.
Yeah, Chris Tran is now like the 1900 ELO rated. So clearly there's a target on his head. If he loses to any of these commanders, woo, he's gonna be in it. He's gonna be in it for like he's gonna take back a lot of his points if he loses. But he's running Greyjoy. He's running Euron and Vicky. Um, this is a scary list. We'll go through it in a bit. And
Yeah,
neutrals.
I've played both of them, and and a little bit of practice, he beat me. He beat my Great John list with Victorian, and last night we had a barn burner down to the last activation game. I played against his Euron with my Tywin ELO list, and it was, I think, 11-10, basically hinged on a crit failed crown zap on some Stormcrow archers. So, yeah, he's definitely got something going on with those Greyjoys.
And the two brave neutral players, we got our very own Kaldogo Kai playing Vargo and Dario. So very brave. We'll see if this pays off. But I really like the Dario list. Two Hedge Knights, Stormcrow Archers, and BBG. I think this is a very solid neutral list, as solid as any neutral list can probably bring. And the other players bringing a neutral list is Chris Baker, Chris FNM, bringing double Dario. Um, so two brave players playing neutral. We'll see how this pans out. Hoping they perform well in this tournament.
Yeah, they could surprise some people. I know in the tabletop warden uh, TTS event that it wasn't an ELO event, but it was strongly encouraged for people to run fun lists. And Lokibri and I played in the semifinals, and he was running neutral. So there's definitely ways that you can make them work. Playing, it's the old Wealth and Cunning card. I can't remember what it's called now, but it does additional hits.
Insight
Uh,
and planning. Yeah.
Planning and Insight, that's the one. With Stormcrow archers, you can actually do a lot of damage with those Stormcrow archers, getting the rerolls and then getting two extra hits. They can end up doing a lot of work. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare in this field.
I think like the in at least one of the lists I'm seeing is that they will always bring Stormcrow with Brawn. I think that should be like a very sort of standard pick for. Yeah, we got no. The other list doesn't bring. All right, so Kai's bringing the Brawn Archer combo, and yeah, Chris is bringing double Stormcrow Archers with double Cavalry. Again, will be interesting to see how this plays out. And then
Yeah, for sure.
We got Baratheon. Baratheon only one, two, three, four players playing Baratheon. Huh?
Yeah,
What's up with that?
that really surprises me.
We got our very own Dremdora, Jupri here playing Baratheon. We got Stannis Vargo. We got Five Goril playing Baratheon, Eve 76 playing Baratheon, and Azunai playing Baratheon. I'm. This is a bit like a changing situation of the previous tournament where we see Baratheon and Greyjoy in a lot of the mixes, and now we're seeing sort of more Lannister, and then a combination of Greyjoy, neutral, Baratheon, Stark, etc. in a faction. Of course, Lannister being the most popular faction in this tournament. Again, it's unsurprising considering number one, Lannister is very popular, and number two, um, I think Gregor's rating is slightly off, but I think it's just because that he's just being used a lot, and you know, um, people play really well with Gregor, and sometimes people don't play really well with Gregor, so it's just sort of like mixes between being good and very bad. So that's just the nature of Gregor as a commander.
Yeah, I think it's the nature of the aggressive commanders in general. Had a little bit of a conversation with Chris and some of the Sunday Slaughter guys. You see Andrew Estermont for Baratheons, who counts as an aggressive commander. He's rated low. Ormond is rated low. Gregor's rated low, and even Khal Drogo has made his way. I don't think he's the bottom Tark commander, but he's definitely. I don't even think he's top five, and he's their most aggressive commander. So I think it's one of those things where they appeal to players. They seem a little bit beginner friendly because they have cards that let them get free attacks and get across the field. But I think in a lot of ways it can be a trap if you play into those aggressive cards. Like if you draw into an overrun early with Gregor, I think you can fall into the trap of playing a little bit too aggressively to try to play your overrun, and then your units get stranded and then they get killed off. So if I was guessing, I would say that's one of the reasons those aggressive commanders make their way down so low. Um, Not super unsimilar to what you would see occasionally with Starks in 1.6 uh, I drew into sudden charge, devastating impact. I need to play them round one, and it's not always the best play. So
And over to our infamous Night Watch player. We got four players trying their best to play Night Watch. So one, two, three, four. So Claw, obviously, he only has one faction to play. So unfortunately, he can only play Night Watch because he doesn't. He can't really play with any other faction other than a Night Watch. I think it's just principle by him at this point. His team name is John. Is the second lowest ELO in Night's Watch. Yep, again one of those false conundrums. Even your second lowest is still like heaps above everyone else. And this is probably a conspiracy, but why is Alistair Torn at -12 right now? This is a conspiracy because people play probably just
I
like
I don't know. I think that's maybe a product of people trying to, I in a way I feel for Night's Watch players because obviously I'm a person that really loves Night's Watch. They're my only painted army, but they've just been sitting on the shelf since Nationals. I haven't even attempted to play Night's Watch since Nationals, but I think it's probably a result of guys they really just want to play their Night's Watch. They want to spare them the Othel and the John, so they're tinkering around with Donald Noy, Alistair, and maybe Benjamin Stark to some extent. So they're definitely capable of losing um, when they don't have that premier build. So it could be an issue of mixing in pieces that kind of just don't fit. I'm not entirely sure how well double crossbows with Watch Captain will do without Awful. It's probably still really scary, but was discussing it with Carl and Bob and Chris in our little Gamers Haven chat, and it's really just not quite the same. When they're hitting on threes instead of twos, weakened tokens actually matter, and things like this. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But again, I'm guessing that you see Alistair's rating low because guys want to play their Night's Watch. They're playing with Alistair, and he's just not quite as strong as even Donald Noy, Othel, and Jon Snow. So I'm not surprised that they're picking up some losses. You do have some scary meta stuff emerging with the Blood Riders uh, coming out, and I
yep.
think the Blood Riders have a chance to even beat the Othel build, but it's yet to be seen. So we can move on.
So just going, I guess with the last in first out. I'm looking. I just took a quick glance at the Night's Watch list. I think Claus bringing is sort of a very traditional Sworn Brothers list, so I'm not gonna give him too much flack for that. The second list is two veterans. All right, good luck with going through that. I guess with Counter Strike and Disrupt. Amon and Tycho is healing. So he's bringing a very interesting sort of tanky Night Watch list. So I'm not gonna give him too much flack for bringing this list. I think this list is interesting take when playing Night's Watch. The I think Carl's also bringing an interesting list. Again, just veterans with Alistair Torn and Sworn Brother with Alistair Torn and veterans with Gren. Again, I think this is all very interesting list. And then we arrive at the sort of we got Spleen playing a double stone thrower list. God damn. I don't want to fight against this. Thoughts, Brett?
Now,
Thoughts, Brett?
so I think what the Stone Throwers got um, without rerolls, you've got two shots at a 50-50 that comes out to like 75% chance to hit, right?
Yep.
You can't weaken him. I mean, I can see it. Obviously, I don't want to call this the quote unquote ranged meta, um, but I think in this current meta, having a ranged unit is definitely to your advantage. It's something that you should have at least one true long range unit in all of your pairings, I think. Um, and so the double stone thrower, I mean, it can jump out to an early lead. You can fire three times, four if you've got Peter Baelish and your opponent doesn't want to take the swords and block you. I'm sure that you would at that point, but you've got a chance, depending on how the panic tests go, to wipe a unit out in round one. It could be it could be rough. It could be interesting. I think you're going for their ranged threats, right? And then you're making them do that long march across the battlefield to get to you. Um, I don't know. He's kind of at the mercy of the dice gods, though. He doesn't have the author cards to get the stone thrower, three dice hitting on a 3+, which is an almost guaranteed hit. So
We'll
it'll
see.
depend. I think it could be a feast or famine situation. He could miss, you know, 30-40% of the time, and then he's probably sad, or he hits all the time, and then his opponent is sad. So we'll see how that one goes. It's
So yep, and then
kudos for doing it. I mean, 16 points in two range units that are kind of all or nothing. It's kudos.
and of course we got an Ottel list parading as an Alistair list of double crossbowman with double watch captain. Oy vey.
Yeah, again,
Well, it is what it
again,
is, right?
yeah, it's going to be interesting. They've got 7 shots. They're stuck hitting on a 3+. They can obviously move into close range, get those re-rolls, and then it'll feel like you're hitting on 2s at that point. Um, they won't be getting vicious. It'll just depend on what other people have brought. If you've got some sell me warrior sons type of builds that can withstand that kind of fire. Um,
Yep.
I don't know. They could capitalize on the meta shifting to, less optimal stuff, and they could wreck face, or, if they run into a Pycelle Lannister list and they're weakened all the time, they could end up falling flat. We'll have to see.
I'm interested in like after maybe like when we finish the stream. I'm curious of how many taikos are being are being run in this tournament because I'm just seeing it like everywhere if I can see it, except maybe not in Nightwatch, but it's probably everywhere in like the list that everyone's bringing. Okay, so those are the sort of faction breakdown. Most popular is Lannister for again I think some obvious reasons, and then middling Stark, Baratheon, Greyjoy players, and then a few neutral players, 4 Targaryen players, and 3 Targaryen and 4 Night Watch. So it'll be interesting. I'm gonna take a pick at some of the interesting lists that I probably have found here. The first list that I would probably find most interesting is a list by our very own Reaperman, Firman. He's bringing Rob with. Sorry, this is not the list. Here we go. The Mummer Sirio with Howland list. So, this is going to be a very interesting, a very annoying unit to get rid of. We got. That's gonna be
Well,
annoying.
I think Hallen has a little bit of play even into that at stone thrower and the crossbow list, because you can make them, -1 to hit, and if you're putting the, let me make sure I'm not talking out of my ass. I'm pretty sure Hallen can go on a war machine. Let me
Yep.
look really quick.
Yep.
Yeah, so
That's the.
you're putting it on 5s. I mean, that's even with 2 dice when you're hitting on a 5+. We've seen plenty of times that rolling a 5 up on 2 dice can be pretty difficult. And then if you're putting those crossbowmen on a 4+ to hit, they definitely lose a lot of their punching power. See Lannister crossbowmen, who almost never get used. So
All right. So I think that's my interesting list pick. Anything that jumps out of you, or you haven't really looked at it?
I haven't really looked because I've been driving, but let me just a second. Let me take a look at uh, what we've got here.
All right. It's okay. Let's we'll pause that and let's draw the game modes then. While everyone is here, so I'm gonna put my wheel of names here. So let's see what the first round scenario is. And we got everyone's favorite war game. That's a bit louder than I expected, but hey, we got Honan ready for the first scenario. But yeah, that is pretty loud. But yes, all right.
Oh, that's okay.
So let's clock it
Honed
in.
and ready. I think I think for the most part, I think I don't hear a lot of criticism of this game mode. It's a game mode that doesn't favor, the spammy low armor units like the poor fellows.
Ugh, oh
My
shit!
my poor
Oh
fellows,
no, my list is
100.
gonna suffer. All right.
Yeah, my Tywin list, 100% Tywin died by the wall. He did not get attacked one single time by any of Chris's units. He just walled him to death. So it's definitely a thing that can happen. I think it's why people tend to like that mission. It doesn't favor the raider spam. It doesn't favor the poor fellow spam. The conscripts in the Night's Watch list don't feel super comfortable sitting on the backfield because, of course, this is going back to Othel, but the Othel conscripts cannot use their hardened against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people tend to like it.
All right. So let's press this button that says Swiss round pairings, and let's go. All right. So here's the draw for the first round. We got Honan ready, and we got and immediately it shows me fighting against Board. Oh boy, I I'm not sure what his list is again. Oh no, I'm playing free folks. Okay, this is going to be interesting against Rattleshirt. All right. But enough about me. Let's talk about everyone else. Brett, you're up against. You're up against Bloodraven. So it's going to be a Lannister mirror for you.
Oh, of course I am.
Oh, this is. Oh, I love this. We got you versus Camille or Bloodraven. He's bringing an interesting Jamie list, so that's really something that we've been talking. Me and Bloodraven, we've sort of discussed about this Jamie list, and I think he used it against you, and then he won, right? Something along that line.
Yeah, he beat my Drogo Blood Riders list. Tywin NCU is just such a hard dunk on a solo like Jorah, and then his ability to shut things off. I can't remember if he shut off Drogo to keep him from self healing or if he ended up shutting off the veterans. But Tywin is actually really, really strong into Targaryens, in my opinion, from my experience. I'd be interested to see the stats, but it just seems like Tywin NCU against Targaryens in general is such a flex because even against the Unsullied Pikemen, you can shut off Shield Wall, shut off Set for Charge, give them the four hits, give them everything basically, and they are in one shot territory from Flademan even, and that can be a 10-point unit. So I just feel like Tywin is especially flexing on Targaryens. I know I've dropped 3 games with Targaryens against Tywin in CU.
It seems that for some reason your voice is mechanical. Is it happening to my voice as well? Chat saying that, Bob saying that it's like sci-fi Brett. So
Um,
could be from my side. We'll see how it is.
it's probably me. Hang on just a second.
All right. So yeah, it is. It's echoing a bit. All right. So just going down the list, we got Spleen versus J War. We got Sir Jacob of Glace versus Sickwolf, Lannister versus Free Folk. Marsara will be up against Dremdora, local Baratheon player against Marsara. That'll be interesting. We got Kai up against Naktalp playing Stark. Bob will be playing against a Lannister player, so it's time for you to start dunking on those lions. This will be the first line that you'll probably defeat, right? I have complete faith in you, Bob, that you can do this. Bob just spamming Max Smash. We got Dwan Ring versus NSB, Tark versus Greyjoy, 5 Goril versus Cyrus the Virus, Lanny versus Baratheon, Frerin versus Tres Comas, Targaryen versus Lannister. Chris will be up against Tom in a Greyjoy mirror. Oh, I want to watch this. Ooh. Chris, or if any of you are planning a game to planning to stream this. I want to stream this. This looks very interesting. Chris up against Tom Tyler. Bolton versus Winter is Coming in a Greyjoy mirror. In Hone and Ready. Thoughts, Brett?
Yeah, that's almost like pay-per-view television there. So that should be really interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for this matchup. Chris is probably dreading it, going like, "Oh no, I'm up against Tom." But yeah, we'll see. This will be interesting. I do wanna stream this. We got Jesse L versus iJimbo in a Lannister mirror. We got Friendly Fat Octopus versus Chris FNM in Greyjoy versus Neutral. Eve 76 versus Azunai in a Baratheon mirror. Mikkel will be playing against Claw in a Greyjoy versus Nightwatch. And Stovetop Steven is got a bye. Lucky for him. Carl will be up against Schuster. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce this name. And Stark versus Nightwatch in Capco 41 versus Lord Nick, and then me against Board. And then Rossi versus Reaperman in a Stark mirror. Stark versus Free Folk in Bawar versus II Glue. And Yak 80 Wape in a Lannister mirror. And lastly, we got Greyjoy versus Free Folk in Spirit versus the Dark Angel. So for me, the most interesting games in this one would be the first one, aka you versus Bloodraven. Lannister mirror, you two are probably one of the two top 5 Lannister players, if not like the top 3 Lannister players. So yeah, and people that I usually consult with whenever I do have Lannister based problems. So this would be interesting. Do let me know like when you want to play this, and I think I really want to stream this. And the second one that I will find most interesting is of course the Greyjoy mirror between Chris and Tom, and that will be the two of my pick to be the most interesting match this round. Anything from you? Any other matchups that you would like to talk about? Oh, okay.
I think you said there's a Stark mirror, right?
Yes, there is a Stark mirror.
And it was Rossi and
Rossi is up against Firman Reaper. Yep.
yeah, I think that would be an interesting one. It's a weird landscape where after what they did to us in 1.4 through 1.6, I think a lot of people are kind of feeling a little bit bad for the Starks. So
you should.
I think
if you're feeling bad for the Stark, you should, but not really. No.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I do feel badly for them, but then I remember back when you had to specifically bring a special list. You had to have Walder Frey to deal with dogs and things like this. You were kind of limited in your list building to deal with stuff. So I'm kind of on the fence with that one, feeling a little bit bad, but no, I think Stark would be cool and interesting to watch. They do have some neat stuff. Starks, they have some pretty cool tech. I'm not sure how many there are, but the Kranigman Warden in Bastards Girls or the Bowman is always a really interesting piece.
Let's look at quickly the list of Rossi and Firman to see how it is. So Rossi's playing Rob and Howland. Ooh, I like the Rob list, but even though Rob is really low rated, I think he might go for the Howland here. The Howland is also interesting. I'm not sure like which one I would pick. What do you think?
I've played against Rossi's Rob and Dervish's list. I think he's got Tully Cav with a Glory Seeker. I'm not looking at the list right now. This is just what I recall from the little casual games he and I have played. That list can be pretty obnoxious. It's really, really, really hard to kill anything. I think he's got Eddard NCU.
Yep.
Some she-bears with a Mormont vet. That was the version.
Yeah, so the tech that he was using this time is Bastard Girl with Warden.
Okay, yeah, and that's
interesting because you maneuver within long range, they shoot and charge you on your turn.
Yes.
Yeah, it can be. Oh, he's got Outriders with a Glory Seeker over his Tully Cat. Yeah, it's got an obnoxious amount of healing. Oh, and he's Tech Varus into it as well.
Yep. So that's your extra point going to.
Yeah, he's changed this list up since I last played. It's only 4 combat units, and one of them is a wolf, but this is very similar to what I had played before, and he can definitely, between Edard and that Glory Seeker, he can definitely make the list stick around longer than you would expect. And the Rob Dervishes combo, that's almost a unit that you just don't even attack, because they can attack you, retreat out, and regroup, and then poof, they're almost full again. So,
wow. I just realized what Rob does. All right, this is
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's almost a unit. Like if you can't smack them hard enough and get a 1-2 punch, it's almost not even worth messing with them, because if you knock them down to last rank, they're almost a little bit thankful, because they're going to attack you, retreat, and heal 4. So it's really, really, really tough to finish that unit off.
He might have a bit of difficulty in scoring though in this type of game modes. So there is also an incentive to use the one with Tully Shield, just because you can sort of just stand in the middle with Howland, and it's a big no-go zone in the middle, and then you just sort of plonk them with She-Bear spamming their war cry, and Bronze She-Bear is also interesting. It could really go into directions. Rossi's list is very interesting. I really like how he approaches the list building for Stark. And again, I think I haven't really seen any Stark list that I'm like, oh wow, this is the list, right? Like, and I think like,
well,
yeah, I haven't seen any Stark list that's like the list, but I think the approach that he's taking is quite interesting.
Yeah, the Varus tech added to Honed and Ready, it could be pretty punishing, because you can get them 3 hits when they take the swords, and then let the walls do a little bit more work for you. Varus again gets around hardened. You get into the later games, if he's managed his tokens well, you almost make the swords a no-go zone. And then the other thing that he can do with Rob, he can put Rob in the center. The dervishes are fast. He's got Arya as well to make sure that he gets to the center. He can overlap that token so much, and then being able to attack off the swords, the bag, or Rob's activation. All he's really got to do is play the hit and run game and retreat onto that token, heal himself, sit on the token, and then you've got to go into him again. And if he's used the bags or the swords for that first retreat, he's got another retreat. So he can end up probably retreating at least a couple of times and maintaining control of that token. So that can be a pretty annoying game. I think anyone who's playing into those Rob Dervishes, do a little bit of homework, kind of tinker around with that list, and you'll see just how resilient that unit is with Rob's order, or not even an order. Regroup is every time he retreats, and the Dervish's Swift Strike is every time they attack. So he's also got a Swift Retreat card in his deck. So that Rob unit has lots and lots and lots of ways to self heal basically for free.
So on the flip side, I'm seeing what Reaperman is bringing here, and also bringing Dervish with Rob, but he has a bit more sort of robust range element in the form of the Stark Bowman. Just Stark Bowman in general with Rickon and Osha. And I think he has 8 activation because Greywind and Shaggy. But again, in Hone and Ready, these 2 dogs are really doing too much. Because if you just end up like on top of the objective, you can just get plonked by the arrows. He will probably use this activation advantage to leverage, the activation that he has. But I think like the 2 dogs is a bit of a liability in this type of scenarios, but we'll see. He also has Tully Shield with Mormon Veterans, which will be very annoying to get rid of, like super annoying to get rid of. And plus,
it's another. Yeah, if you don't have sundering ranged attacks or ways to bypass shield wall, it's pretty much a no-go there as well. If they're using their shield wall order, they're blocking 4 no matter what rank they're at. And as we've seen in this type of landscape, automatically blocking 4 hits in melee can be super oppressive. even when you're 7 dice on a 3+, you might only get 4 hits. They just block everything and they laugh at you. Then they auto pass their morale test and they get you with stubborn tenacity. I really like the Rickon and Bowman. That's a combination I tried out on Chris. You're giving them a little bit of deterrent for them sending stuff into the bows because you've got counter strikes, you've got stubborn tenacity, and then you're pushing the Bowman to a morale 6. I think that unit is a little bit harder to get rid of than what you would think. The Bowmen are now hitting on 5s, which is sad face for the inconsistencies across the board with ranged units. Almost all of them hit on 5s. Then you have the weird. Why do Greyjoy archers hit on 4s in melee? Like, I just found that out in my game against Chris. Yes. Why do they hit on 4s? Like Stormcrow archers.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah, like it just.
For 4 points.
I'm not going to turn this into a bashing fest, but some of the inconsistency is just so weird, and that one just really caught me off guard. Like, this is the spammable, cheapest Bowman unit in the game, and they hit on 4s in melee, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it is. So it's like...
Yeah. I want to quickly talk about Chris's list, because I think this is also quite interesting. Blackguard with Euron. Now that's something. I never really see Blackguard in any list, anywhere else. Chris seems to favor them bringing in a Euron list. I guess it's just a delivery system with the Blackguard, again, with the horrific visage and intimidating presence. I think this is a very annoying combo to try to get rid of. And I think Euron is also secretly a very powerful commander simply because he has access to blank. And of course we got Trappers, Asha and Karl. Trappers are a weirdly difficult unit to get rid of. Holy crap. I kept telling people who haven't fought against Trappers that they're more tanky than you expected. I'm very surprised.
Yes. Yep. Don't. If you could avoid it, unless you have a price of failure or something like that in your hand and you're going in with flayed men, you've got them vulnerable and panicked, and you have a fealty in your hand, don't even mess with that unit. I was looking at it. If you count What is Dead May Never Die as a healing card, which it basically is, Greyjoys have 5 cards that heal in their basic deck. If you go head first into that Trapper unit thinking that you're going to get rid of them, they're just going to heal that unit, and they're going to bog down whatever you send into them. If you send something kind of crappy, they don't even need to heal. But if you send your flayed men into them, your flayed men might sit there for 3-4 rounds before they finally get rid of them, and they might not even ever get rid of them. Just a PSA for anybody playing against that Greyjoy combination: just don't even mess with them if you can avoid it, because they will grind you with Karl doing auto wounds / expert duelist, and they don't have to kill you. They'll just tank you forever. They're putting weaken tokens on you. They're giving you auto wounds. You will eventually fail panic. And then most of all, he's going to want to hold you in a spot and start flank shotting you with his archers, and you're going to go down no matter what you're sending in. I think the archers are the priority in this list. They're his primary damage dealer. And then, keep your hard hitter away from Euron, because with Asha having Warcry, he's going to put a panic token on you. That's going to help Sow Discord go through. And when your units like Flayed Men lose all of their abilities, they're just crap. And then they're even more stuck into that Asha. So just a PSA, if you haven't fought them, like Van said, they are way harder to kill than you think. Don't be misled by their profile. Asha and Karl in them, it makes them like a 10 on annoyance. So.
And what I like about also this particular list is that he can also use Cunning Ploy to give extra attacks on his Vicky Reavers or the Trappers with Karl. So there's a lot of ways that this list can deal you random damage and random wounds just out of nowhere. And Red is really solid list now.
He's got Cunning Ploy. He's got nothing better to do with the Greyjoy Trappers for the most part. assuming that Euron is sitting on an objective not being messed with as well, because nobody wants to go into that horrific visage at a -4 with D3+1. Just don't want to risk it. So Cunning Ploy, he can use it to get the Relentless Victorian unit in, and even in round 1, he can potentially double tap a unit at the end of the round because he counts as 9 activations. So that's another thing to watch out for. Again, I played this list. It's misleading. It does a lot more damage than you think, and it's got a lot of resilience. I ended up having to use Tyrion to go get a counterplot in round 1 because he had a Cunning Ploy and Vicky was going to double tap my poor fellows. We could not let that happen. So it's got some cool stuff. And then Euron stealing one of your cards can make it even tougher. He ended up stealing issue commands from me, and that's basically what finally won him the game. He charged me in the middle with archers and contested where I thought I was going to be scoring the middle, and he played that card, stole issue commands, and charged me, contested my flayed men in the middle, and that got him that saved him the point and ended the game right there.
All right, let's not go through Chris's list too much because we might be giving away all of his secrets.
Sure.
Let's go one last discussion about Tom's list. He also brought a Greyjoy list, but I think he's playing a very different Greyjoy just in principle. So the first list is the sort of double Iron Maker list, except he got Balon instead of the usual Asha. Asha is sitting in a unit of the other Iron Makers, and then we got Vicky, Bowman, and the usual 3 Roderick, Eric, and Wendemir combo. I think this is one of those lists that are weirdly tanky just because of how Iron Makers are and how they can just go to 2+ armor save randomly. And again, I think this list can just sit on Hone and Ready and just, take a lot of punishments and they won't really budge you. I think this is an interesting way again to play Greyjoy, and I think this list can sort of randomly also go against Nightwatch even, because you're hitting Iron Makers, they're at 2+, even with Sundering you're at 3+, you're gonna deal 2-3 damage per shot, and then you get like all the healings from the Greyjoy stuff. So yeah, I think this, again, fairly interesting list. I never really used Balon, so I haven't really known what his card does. Acceptable sacrifices, price of failure, and the old way, discard pillage token, and morale test. Okay. Yep. Alright, so just a very solid commander to make sure that you don't fail morale tests, and then you got the acceptable sacrifices, so extra panic test modifier. And then the second list is another Euron list, but he's bringing it in the unit of Silence Men. I haven't seen this unit in any list before. I don't think so. What are your thoughts about Silence Men?
I think Euron Silence Men are disgustingly good because they're I can't remember the name of the ability, but they're basically Bubble of Old Cersei. You're combining that with Discord, and so if you get 2 pillage tokens on the Silence Men, which isn't horribly hard to do, especially if you're running Eric, you're giving them the Discord at a -2 base, and then if you've got some of their ranks down, you could get it up to a -4, because I think it's -1 for each destroyed rank. And it's just that overall blanking is so rare in this version of the game. It makes Euron pretty attractive. And once you start adding those modifiers, even things like Warrior Sons have to worry a little bit if they're taking that morale test at a -3 and they've got a panic token on them. And if you shut off their defensive abilities, Warrior Sons are definitely just like a little bit of an average unit. So it gives them the opportunity to wipe you out. It's just the blanking. Again, it's just rare. So I think it makes Euron attractive just simply because of the ability to shut everything off.
And of course, 2 Ironborn Bowmen will be the one who's dealing the most damage in this list. Again, same principle. 2 Ironborn Bowmen in a Euron list. Is this a standard Euron list with 2 Bowmans, or am I missing something here?
I think a lot of Greyjoy lists just like two bowmen, and I mean I don't blame them. If I had access to long ranged long range attack for 4 points, I mean I would take it. And it's almost always worth two, even if you don't consider them sharing the spoils and the rerolls in the flank. It's just good to have a long range unit for so cheap. You're getting 2 units, and anybody else getting a long range unit, they're paying at a minimum 1.5 of what you're paying for your Greyjoy archers, because I think everyone else's long range archers start at 6, they start at 4. And so yeah, it's really good. And then again with the silenced men, if you get that bubble set up properly, those Greyjoy archers shooting into you, causing a panic at a -2, they're just going to chip damage and start getting you with those panic tests. It's pretty scary.
All right, cool. So we got two very interesting games coming up that I would definitely would like to be watching. So Brett versus Bloodraven, Chris versus Tom, and the Stark Mirror, which would be quite interesting because it's two basically same-ish principle with Stark, and we'll see how it goes. For everyone else who's in this tournament, again, you have up until the end of the week to play out your games. Good luck. If you can't contact your opponent, just let me know, and I'll probably find them in the other Discord for you. Just let me know if you have any troubles arranging time with your opponent. Make sure you have ample time ready, and yeah, good luck. Good luck for the rest of the tournament, also, Brett, and I'll see you in the winners' podium.
Yep. Bloodraven already slid into my inbox.
Oh no! All right. Good luck, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Happy hunting. Bye bye.
See you guys. Thanks for joining.